Continuing on with the AFI 100 Best Movies list is Saving Private Ryan at number 71. I feel like I say this every video now, but this movie should be a lot higher on this list. Directed by the incredible Steven Spielberg and released in 1998, Ryan is to this day considered one of the most realistic and emotionally powerful war movies ever made. The story follows a small group of soldiers tasked with finding Private James Francis Ryan, the sole remaining child in this family. The other three Ryan brothers had been killed in combat already. The movie opens on June 6, 1944, D-Day. We follow the Battle of Normandy, the Omaha Beach landing, where Nazi forces gunned down a brute force attack by American forces. Captain John Miller, played by Tom Hanks, leads the 2nd Ranger Battalion. It's hard to describe this scene. It's a very real-feeling depiction of the hell this assault must have been. Using words like exciting and intense either give the wrong impression or don't do it full justice. It's a scene that needs to be experienced and refreshed regularly to remember what these men went through to remove evil from the world. The quality of the scene has it stand out, even in a standout movie. Just after surviving the D-Day invasion, Miller is tasked with finding Private James Ryan. He's a paratrooper who is currently behind enemy lines. His 3 brothers have already been killed in combat during the Second World War. The powers that be decided Mrs. Ryan suffered enough losing 3 of her 4 sons and wants to reunite her with James. Miller assembles a small squad. Technical Sergeant Mike Horvath, played by Tom Sizemore, Private Richard Rabin, played by Edward Burns, Private Stanley Mellish, played by Adam Goldberg, Private Adrian Caparzo, played by Vin Diesel, Corporal Timothy Upham, an uncombat-tested translator, and T4 medic Irwin Wade, played by Giovanni Ribisi. The squad travel on foot through war-torn France. They have no means of backup, resupply, or extraction. Obstacles present themselves as the soldiers' morale begins to crumble. When the men encounter the enemy, the stakes are high, the losses feel real, and the soldiers begin to question their orders. The question of one man's life being worth more than another comes up frequently and eats away at the men throughout their journey. The scenes of tension and combat are broken up by moments of deep character study. The group finds themselves sleeping in an abandoned church. They swap stories that, out of context, aren't profound or anything unheard of. But that's exactly the point. The humanity that comes through is pitch perfect. The group, not the same as when they set out, eventually find Ryan and his patchwork company. Ryan and his company are defending a bridge in Ramelle. Ryan is told that the devastating news of his brothers and what Miller's mission is. He refuses to leave his men, feeling he has to do his duty and do his part. Tempers flare, but the soldiers are brought together when a German force, much larger than the American one, is closing in on the bridge. In another spectacular battle sequence, Miller and his men help Ryan's men defend the bridge as long as they can. Casualties on both sides are high. A lot of the men we got to know through the course of the movie are lost, and you feel every loss. For the characters in the movie and as an audience member who got to know and care for them. Miller himself is mortally wounded. He was always level-headed when the argument of why Ryan's life might be worth more than the lives of the men who were tasked to get him. In the end, he does tell Ryan to earn this, meaning earn the new lease on life Miller and his men gave them at great expense. Cementing the emotional impact of the movie further, the epilogue of the film sees an elderly James Ryan and his extended family at the Normandy American Cemetery and Memorial. He remembers Miller's words to him and hopes he lived up to the man's dying wish. The scene is a great character moment and rams home the movie's themes of duty, honor, sacrifice, and the personal costs of war. Even nearly 3 decades on, Saving Private Ryan is just as impactful and credible as the day it was released. The opening scene of the D-Day invasion is almost a full half hour. That's a significant chunk of the movie, and technically speaking, the D-Day scene isn't even crucial to the main plot of Saving Private Ryan, except in dialing in the time and the stakes. The use of practical effects, handheld cameras, and quick edits sell the visuals. The sound design is as perfect as I've seen in any movie, or heard, and puts you in the scene. The opening sequence, bookended with the battle on the bridge in Ramelle, has its own unique memorable moments. The small group of soldiers with no artillery making IEDs out of their socks to blow the treads off tanks, the sniper in the tower with no way out praying before each expertly placed shot, Upham nearing his breaking point when he is unable to save a fellow fellow soldier from a Nazi, and then has to kill that very Nazi as his only direct violent act in the war. Every time our band of heroes faces adversaries, whether it's the sniper duel in the village or the gun encampment in the field that our heroes have to charge at with no armor or distractions. I first saw this movie in theaters at 13 years old. I had very little knowledge of World War II and still remember the feeling of how anyone could make themselves act in these situations. This movie is part of the reason for my fascination with history, and I started many deep dives right away. One thing I learned at the time, even in the early days of the internet as we know it now, was of the sole survivor policy. I knew the movie itself was fiction, but wanted to know what it was based on and how much of it could be true. Spielberg made the movie as a way to pay honor to his parents' generation. His father served in the war. He also did something of an adaptation of the Nyland brothers. These were 4 brothers, all in different units in the U.S. military during World War II. 3 of the 4 brothers were killed in action. The U.S. government shipped the remaining brother back to the States, where he worked as a military police officer until the war concluded. That kept him on active duty, but safe from being killed in action. Upon its release, there was widespread critical acclaim. Audiences and critics alike loved the movie. It was a financial success and won a ton of awards, including 5 Academy Awards. Steven Spielberg himself won for Best Director. Check out this video next for more of AFI's Top 100.